Do you need to be faster or do you just need to be better? I think if you can be better and faster, you're probably going to win. May as well just burn the forests while you're at it. So not only are you giving away the ability to return, but you're also foregoing future sales of that same product. The majority of retailers are stuck in planning cycles that are just replicating what they did last year.
Welcome to Add to Cart, Australia's leading e-commerce podcast that express delivers all you need to know in the fast-moving world of online retail. Here's your host, Bushy.
Welcome back to Add to Cart, Australia's leading e-commerce podcast for e-commerce professionals who never stop learning. My name is Nathan Bush, or Bushy, joining from the land of the Turrbal people here in Brisbane. What does it take to ship smarter in today's e-commerce game? To find out, we brought back a true friend of Add to Cart, Rob Hango-Zada, co-founder and co-CEO of Shippit. Now, not only is Shippit celebrating 10 years in business, which is an eternity in e-commerce years, let alone shipping years, and they've just released their annual State of Shipping report. And trust me, it is not just another industry white paper. This report is my go-to for benchmarking what is happening in the world of delivery, returns, and more. It's one of the most practical, data-rich insights that you will find on delivery speed, cost benchmarks, returns behaviour, and fulfillment trends across Australian retail. Rob is joining us today to help unpack some of the biggest shifts that they saw this year in shipping. You wouldn't think a lot changes, but it actually does in 12 months. In this episode, we discuss the rise of same-day delivery to the dramatic drop of free returns. If you're a retailer, you've got to see what those benchmarks are, especially around those two numbers. Rob shares what top retailers are doing to win on fulfillment, how delivery models are changing, especially in metro areas, and why cutting your neighbour's lawn might just be the secret to shipping success. Yep, there's an analogy in there somewhere. So if you've ever wondered how to turn your delivery into a loyalty driver and get your orders out faster without breaking the bank, this one's for you. If you're the kind of person who likes to read along as we go, make sure you download the Shippit report at shippit.com.au. Or also the link is in the show notes. So you can download that and read along as we discuss some of the best findings out of this year's State of Shipping report from Shippit. Big thanks to Shippit for backing today's episode and helping us keep Add to Cart rolling. All right, let's dive straight into my chat with Rob Hango-Zada. Rob, welcome to Add to Cart.
Hey, thanks for having me again, Bushy. Good to see you.
Welcome back. You are a true friend of the show now.
Yeah, I can't say long-time listener, first-time caller anymore. It's getting fun.
You're almost a regular. I love it.
No, it's good. Glad to have my loyalty card stamped.
That's what we do, loyalty cards. I love it. That's the future of retail. Well, you are here because you've brought us something pretty special. It is the Shippit's annual State of Shipping report. It is a report that I look forward to every year. And I'm not only saying that because you're in the room, but I actually put it into, someone asked us in our community the other day, it's like, what are the reports that you look at every year, regardless of what's going on? And the Shippit State of Shipping report was one of them because I think you do such a tremendous job with it.
Oh, look, thank you very much. I can't take any credit for it personally. The team are just absolute weapons at this stuff. And honestly, I use it a lot in my day-to-day now as well.
I got the sneak preview of it a couple of weeks beforehand, which I kept quiet, but I might have quietly pulled up in a couple of meetings to share a few stats. And, you know, the stats in there are so practical and specific for retailers to know where they're sitting. And I think it just adds tremendous value. So we're going to dive into that today, hey?
Yeah, let's do it.
So how many years have we been going for now?
So Shippit turned 10 on Mother's Day this year. So
congrats.
It was so good, Nate, that, you know, my business partner forgot our anniversary. And I'll tell you what, I was the upset partner.
Yeah, fair. Did you get them something nice? What'd you get, Will?
I don't want to talk about it.
Oh,
you know,
fair.
we had a nice team culture engagement survey to review that morning. It just felt very, very timely.
You pretty much got the whole team a vacuum and a microwave. Well done.
Pretty much. So look, some people kind of sit there and they, we're always a bit paranoid. We always want to be a bit better than we are and all that sort of stuff. And I think sometimes you just got to take a step back and go, hey, we've survived a decade. For Will and I, it's a quarter of our lives. and we haven't killed each other yet. The business is still alive and doing well. And I think that's caused a celebration. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And with that, in the 10 years where you've worked with so many retailers and had visibility over so many deliveries and fulfillment, and I'm just love that you bring that data forward for us. So after 10 years, Rob, was there anything out of this report from this year that surprised you?
To be honest with you, the speed of delivery is on fire. Like if you think about when we started the business, I think 5 to 8 business days for a metro delivery was pretty much the norm. And the Iconic was blitzing it with, 4-hour delivery or 3-hour delivery in Sydney and Melbourne. That was it.
Yeah.
So the speed of delivery, I think the last sort of year has been 1.7 business days has been the speed of delivery from a carrier collecting to delivering to your household. That's in aggregate.
And that's just average delivery over everyone, over Standard and Express.
Standard Express, on demand, just weighted average across our total retail base. That really stood out to me. It's like, Jesus, the whole industry is lifted around this, but I don't know if we feel it as consumers. So we're just a bit like, oh yeah, it's not as quick as Uber Eats,
Yeah. Where has that speed come from? Has it come from processes at a retailer's end, or has it come from carriers lifting the game?
Look, it's a good question that you ask, because when you're in retail, you're just thinking about carrier DIFOT, you're looking at your carrier SLAs and you're thinking, hey, how quick is the delivery getting to my customer once the carrier picks it up? It's seldom that a retailer will kind of look end to end. At what time did the customer place the order to what time do they get it delivered? And looking at that elapsed time, it's quite stark. So the number I quoted, about 1.7 days, is from the time a courier collects it from the retailer and delivers it to the end customer.
Gotcha.
And it's across anyone who's shipping Australia to Australia, whether it's Standard Express or on demand.
Okay. And do you have any stats in there around average dispatch times at all, or gut feel on what good looks like?
It's hard to say because, the way that we kind of look at it is when an order gets created. So how orders are born into the Shippit world and then how they turn into a delivery. Everyone's a little bit different with how they do that. Some might not tell us about an order until they're ready to ship it out. Others will tell us the moment the customer places the order. And I think when we've looked at it in the past, Australian retailers on average take around 24 hours to dispatch an order. It's gotten slightly faster, and you're seeing this real separation of those retailers that actually have it and those that don't really care about that metric. And they care about a whole bunch of different metrics that, historically we've never looked at. First-time delivery rates and the like. But I was speaking to a couple of retailers. Now, good news is Shippit retailers tend to be more all over this stuff than non-Shippit retailers. And when we've spoken to a few fairly large, sort of fashion brands, one of them stood out to me, which was that they have a 5-day promise to customer. 2 days is what they commit from a delivery perspective, and 3 business days is what they commit from a store fulfillment perspective.
That's a lot of fat.
And one of our customers, who's quite a prominent retailer, shipping from hundreds of store locations, they've gotten it down to 5 minutes. So you really got to look at the quick and the fast on this. And there's a big argument. Do you need to be faster or do you just need to be better? I think if you can be better and faster, you're probably going to win.
Yeah. I don't think retailers will like hearing that.
Easy for me to sit here and say, I don't have to deal with all the other stuff, but it is complex. It's not easy.
The 5-minute retailer, that is phenomenal. What are they doing differently to kind of break the speed barrier?
Look, try to dig into this. And there are a couple of retailers who have really nailed it. I think, back in the day when I was working with Shane over at Q, I think they got it down to 13 minutes at store. Technology is only part of the battle, right? It comes down to culture, and it comes down to incentives, and it comes down to, I guess, ultimately what goal you're orientating toward. Is it a customer experience outcome? Do you take pride in it? And I think the differentiator comes down to culture.
Yep.
When we spoke to the business that does it in 5 minutes, the team are right behind it. They don't get an order in a store and go, oh, this is a distraction. We don't want to have to fulfill this. We want to do other stuff. It's game on. The orders come through. Let's get this thing out of here so our customers get it as quickly as possible. So it's incentives alignment, it's culture engagement, and then it's process and technology.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And there's also that balance, isn't there, between speed and quality. There's no point getting it down to 5 minutes if you're sending out rubbish.
Totally agree. Yeah.
The interesting thing that I picked up on was the speed, because we spent a lot of time last year talking about that difference between the speed and the actual promise and the opportunity that lies between. But what also I picked up on was the costs. So we have this rhetoric that's happening at the moment, I think, around, prices are going up, which they are across most industries, and, shipping's getting more expensive, blah, 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 blah. But your report was really interesting because it showed that the price of standard shipping went from $10.26 average to $10.39. So slight increase, but nothing crazy. If I was a percentage guy, I'd work out that percentage in my head right now. But
you and I both, mate. It's some percent. Yeah.
Just a bit of feedback for the next survey. Can you put the percentages in there as well?
Easier to quote at the board. Like, well, I get it.
That's true. But so not a crazy increase. But the interesting thing was that same day delivery costs actually decreased from $18.26 to $17.39. So that's really interesting because it feels like on the outside, there's all this pressure around the price of shipping, but your research is actually saying, it's kind of coming all together a little bit more. It's becoming more economical. Is that fair?
You've hit the nail on the head. And take your mind back. So you quoted last year's at $18.26. You take your mind right back to 2018. It was $31.
Wow.
Now, how's the world changed and why has this happened? It's not because of the goodness of the hearts of the carriers that they're giving away delivery, right? I think, when we were starting out, you talk about the 10-year ago sort of view, there was a model which was point to point. Think of it like a taxi. Pick up from location A, drop off to location B, one parcel per vehicle, away you go, right? May as well just burn the forests while you're at it. The other view, and that was primarily for like rush document delivery. That was really what got rebirthed. Think about the mail call business and how that pivoted to support fashion. And ultimately, we've seen new delivery models come to light in the gig economy. Sherpa, Drive Yellow, Uber, DoorDash. You've got a lot more optionality. You've got this blurring of the lines between what's an on-demand delivery, what's a hub and spoke delivery. And the same rules don't apply anymore. So it all comes down to one important thing, and that's density. Last year, I got up and confused a bunch of people when I talked about drop density. The easiest way to kind of frame it is if, Nath, you love gardens. So
I love gardens.
Yeah, you love gardens.
I'm in my garden era.
You would be, I reckon you'd keep a mean lawn. I reckon that's
I've got a great lawn, but I've got a veggie garden that is struggling.
Oh, well, there's probably something for that. I can't help you. But had you have run your own lawn mowing business, you probably want to make sure that all your clients are right next door to each other because you can get more lawns cut and therefore more money, and it becomes a bit cheaper. But if you've got to mow one lawn in your neighborhood, drive all the way across town to do the next lawn, you're probably going to charge a bit more for each of those lawns.
Yeah.
And so as we start to see this tightening of demand into certain pockets, I think, I sort of did some analysis with the team and we kind of projected out by the year 2027, the city of Parramatta will have so much density in terms of online demand that it will be cheaper to deliver via on-demand than it would standard post.
Wow.
And that's simply because you've got a whole row of houses in the same street that are getting deliveries. And you just got to cast your mind back to, what's probably the most commoditized product that every household buys? It's milk.
Yep.
Go back to the days of the milkman. That was sustainable unit economics for the milkman. So, and that's because every household bought milk. So we're getting back to that era with online penetration, and it's reaching a bit of an inflection point.
So what you're saying is you want to cut your neighbour's grass and get visits by the milkman.
Hey, you can say it. That really is it. You want to make sure that everyone's buying from the same retailers or at least using the same delivery networks, and the cost of delivery will continue to come down and the speed of delivery will go up. And that's effectively where we're going to get to, particularly in these metro areas over the next couple of years.
Yeah. And so in the report, you differentiate between standard, express, and then same day, and you give some great benchmarks over how that pricing's changed. Standard and express gone up slightly, but nothing crazy.
Yeah.
Like we said, same day has come down. From a retailer's perspective, if you're looking at the mix of shipping, and you mentioned the metro areas especially for that same day, what kind of strategy are you looking at, or what kind of model are you looking at to work out which of those shipping options you should be offering in your business?
So it's a really interesting question, right? Let me take you on a walk down a different path for a little while. So let's think about Amazon. They do an outstanding job at delivering reliably, quickly, and if you're a Prime member, for free. And they're actually getting faster. I think 40% of their deliveries are now same-day deliveries for Prime members, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, it doesn't matter whether you're buying a pack of playing cards for $3.80 or you're buying a coffee machine for $1,000. Same delivery experience.
Yep.
You've got to think about two factors that become critically important. Amazon has a really broad range. So therefore, the chances of you buying from them again and again and again for different use cases is quite high. And what Amazon is trying to do is they're trying to build a habit with you. Because if they know that Nathan now relies on Amazon for every single product that he wants to buy, then you've got a more reliable delivery experience because they can funnel more towards you and then they get greater density. And they can geographically target their consumer base in that way. Now, let's say you're a retailer that sells washing machines and maybe you sell microwaves, maybe you sell dryers.
Literally got a dishwasher delivered yesterday.
Very good. How long ago did you buy your last dishwasher?
Oh, goodness. 10 years, I'd say.
Yep. Did you pay for that delivery?
No, appliances online.
They're amazing. But anytime you need an appliance, you're going to appliances online.
Spot on, because I'll take the old one too.
Now, if you're a retailer that seldomly sells a product, so your frequency is quite drawn out and low, you should probably charge for that delivery.
Mm-hmm.
So it comes back to two things. How frequently is the customer going to be buying from you, and how far away is the customer from your point of origin? So if you're delivering from grocery, let's say, the whole milk run sort of philosophy back in the day when the frothy markets were here and everybody had free money.
Still exists, doesn't it?
It does. You got to pay for delivery and a service fee.
But
you're building a habit because of the lifetime value, and it depends on the margin structures. But effectively, frequency and distance are the two main things. High frequency, low distance, give it away for free.
Mm-hmm.
Long distance, low frequency, recover cost as much as you can at the checkout. So that's the dichotomy that you've got to play with.
I really like that. That's a really interesting way of looking at it. Like, it makes a lot of sense and it's a simple way of looking at it, but it can get really complex in your head when you start thinking about postcodes and regions and different rates and different size products and bulky items. Like, it can get really complicated really quickly, but that's a nice, simple way to think about it as a starting point. You mentioned in the report, and I thought this was interesting, I wasn't expecting to see this, around how to tie fulfillment into loyalty. And I think you were touching on it there, right? Around Amazon and that loyalty piece building over time, that if you want, it becomes reliable, that I know that I can get it quickly. So I'm going to keep coming back because you've now got me addicted to, that's the level that I expect. And I know that I'm going to get it. How do you see the best retailers tying in their fulfillment proposition to loyalty?
So you've got to look at fulfillment and delivery as one proposition to the end customer. I think oftentimes retailers divorce those two things. So I think it's what we talked about a little bit before. The SLA to dispatch an item ultimately impacts the time to customer. And so in the report, what we found was the average delivery promise from the desktop research we did across 3,000 websites was about 5.2 days. So when you place that order in the checkout, the average experience is your expectation is set at 5.2 days.
Mm-hmm.
The delivery experience we talked about was 1.7 days. That means the majority of the time that order is sitting in a store location somewhere waiting to be picked and packed and handed over to the carrier. Now, the proposition of immediacy starts to take away the wandering eye. Historically, it would be, how do we reduce cart abandonment? We give different delivery options. Customers are seeking greater certainty and speed than ever before. And what we do see is, click and collect as a favorable delivery option comes down, the more reliable and the faster delivery gets. So customers have always craved certainty, and now they're going to find that certainty becomes the standard across everyone, and the differentiator becomes speed. So speed of fulfillment and delivery, I think, the recent case study we did with Pet Barn, I think they grew customer spend by 3.5x, loyalty in terms of the that was spend per transaction, and then loyalty went up by about 2.4x.
Wow.
And that's really just because you're going to get it exactly when you need it, and that immediacy really trains the behavior.
And I guess knowing what's important to your customers, right? Because if you're after dog food, there's a very good chance that you've left it to the last minute and you can't just not feed your dog.
Spot on. Now, look, in the case of your washing machine or dishwasher, if you got that immediately, it'd be great. but you're not going to, if it got there tomorrow, you're probably going to be as happy as you were if it got there within 30 minutes. You're probably like, oh, shit, I'm not ready to receive this thing in 30 minutes.
Actually, I would have preferred if they put it off a little bit more because I wouldn't have had to install it straight away, like at 9 o'clock last night. I would have been happy for a bit of a delay.
Exactly. So just deliver it when it suits me, right? But yeah, that's that model playing out.
That loyalty observation, I think, is really interesting, especially when you put it in perspective of what you guys found around free shipping and free returns. There were some stats in there that had shifted so dramatically over the last 12 months that I'm really keen to get your view on it. So to give everyone a little bit of an overview, you found that 2 in 3 retailers now offer free delivery, which I think off memory was down a little bit, but nothing drastic, at an average threshold of $123 to get that free shipping.
Yeah.
But it was the returns that really blew me away, with now only 14% of retailers offering free returns, which I think was down from, off memory, about high 40% last year.
49. Well, 49% in 2018. 2018. It had sort of come down quite a bit, but it's no surprise really when you think about it that now the true cost of things is coming to light. So we've seen, I think it's really underreported, and we only see the big brands that go into administration, but every single day there's a small business or a mid-market sort of sized pure play retailer that is struggling to make the unit economics of online work. You're looking at the squeeze from A, capital markets have dried up, B, interest rates are higher, C, you've got more global competition that's, buying up all the AdWords. So your source of traffic is becoming mixed. Marketplaces, Google ad spend, social, all of these things are starting to warp.
Everyone wants a cut.
The cost of acquisition has gone up. Then the fundamental unit economics of a delivery, particularly when you start to think about, okay, are we selling on deal or off deal? How deep do we go, etc. We had some retailers in the peak of 2021, so the frothiest e-com market in lockdown, would be shipping a product that was probably sold for $40, and they were giving away delivery for free, and it would cost them $126 to deliver that item across states, right? Today, that retailer just stopped offering it as a delivered product. It's a click and collect product now because the unit economics are much more sustainable for them. They don't have to chase the top line sales. You've got to balance it. And I think nothing has been beaten up more than free returns. I still remember the days of 100-day or 365-day returns. So not only are you giving away the ability to return, but you're also foregoing future sales of that same product where people are wardrobing and keeping stock out that then ages as it comes back. That whole piece is being tightened up. So the returns process must be more sustainable for a retailer, and they're going to try and reduce that as much as possible. And then on the shipping side of things, it's been no surprise that the free shipping threshold has gone up, and those offering the blanket free shipping capability is almost non-existent. It comes back to sustainable unit economics. And what I'm getting really excited about is the hyper-personalization of those offers. Historically, it was one size fits all for the market, but like we just talked about around distance of customer and frequency of purchase, you can start unlocking these things as loyalty drivers.
Are you finding that many retailers, because obviously that's a key part of your platform, is allowing retailers to do those personalized offers based on carrier selection, distance, etc. Are you finding that most retailers are optimizing that?
I would say on the whole, you've got some of the market leaders who are really embracing it and sort of are using our platform in all of its Lego bricks that they can sort of compose the way that they want. Everyone talks about headless. I talk about composable shipping. And really it's about materializing that shipping experience when and where you need it. So whether it be on a product page, at the checkout, inside the point of sale for endless aisle, wherever you need it, you need to have a consistency to that experience. Some retailers definitely obsess over it and they kind of offer a differentiated experience to VIPs. And let's be honest, it's not too dissimilar to the way Prime does it with Amazon or Amazon do it with Prime, because they're differentiating a delivery offer for a select cohort of customers and then reserving a basic experience for everyone else. On the returns front, I don't think I've seen a hell of a lot of customization, but we are starting to hear about more VIP style programs, providing them with different perks and benefits. And I think that's the way to go, because you can still compete, but then you're actually asking for customer loyalty in exchange of that. And I think that makes a lot more sense, because you become a destination shop for that customer.
And I suppose from a loyalty perspective, if you're putting it in the terms of unit economics, you want loyalty not just to be part of the free loyalty program, because really all you've got is an email address, but they need to be proven to be part of that top tier of customer to be profitable in the long term.
It just makes sense. It's a fair exchange of value, which doesn't make you look like a tight ass. So I reckon if you got to give and get, but you've got to be consistent with your offering and very transparent with where you want to take it.
I can just see an e-commerce manager going into their next board presentation. And what's our strategy for this year? It's a fair representation of value without being a tight ass.
You can tell I used to be in marketing, mate.
I think it works. So with returns and the returns model being thrown on its head, what does normal look like now? If only 14% are offering free returns, and I'd love your view on fashion versus the rest of the world, because I think fashion is slightly different when it comes to returns. Are you seeing that obviously there's the piece around faulty goods and ACCC goods that you have to facilitate that. If it's your fault, then you're liable for that. But then if it's just change of mind, then you put that onto the customer and they just pay whatever the postage rate is going back. Is that what you're seeing most retailers turn to as the standard offering on returns?
Yeah, most retailers are they're not tightening up it's not a carte blanche rule. I think certain brands are saying change of mind. They're probably getting a bit tighter around that. So they're just like, right, regulatorily, we have to give you a return capability. But if it's change of mind, I'm going to push you into store credit mode. And I think, they don't want to see ecosystem leakage anymore. They were quite comfortable historically to kind of give you an instant refund even before the items hit the warehouse. But now it's about how do you build an incentive to continue to buy again so you don't actually lose that revenue anymore.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like that. Leakage out of the ecosystem. You are bringing them all out today. That's really, really smart. I love it. You mentioned click and collect there before. I'm really interested in, were there any trends or any observations that you saw, especially for omni-channel retailers, around how fulfillment for them is changing to their customers? Any new options, any new trends?
Look, I think, you probably pioneered the speedy click and collect back in your day at SRG, but I think that's still probably the style of experience that we kind of see. But, a lot will tout there's more deliveries going to parcel lockers, there's more deliveries going to more convenient collection locations. I think that's fair because there's a greater push and incentive from carriers to deliver to those locations. The secret behind that is you're turning a B2C delivery into a B2B delivery.
Yeah.
You don't have to deal with a dodgy human who moves around and gets emotional with you. You're delivering it to an endpoint that's a lot easier and more sustainable for a carrier to deliver to, right? Click and collect itself saw modest growth the last 12 months, about 5.5%. But if you compare 2018 to 2024, it was a rocketing growth of 309%.
Yeah.
So it's come off the boil a bit, and that's because of what I said about the speed of delivery experience.
Yes.
So that's how it changed.
That makes a lot of sense. On the parcel locker piece, Australia Post have spun up their new, what are they calling it? Their post office of the future, I think they've called it something, or their next generation post office. You've seen that?
Yeah, I did. I saw it on LinkedIn. I haven't actually dug into it yet, but It looks like what the banks did to bank branches. It's a lot more convenient. You don't have to talk to a human anymore.
Yeah. And I haven't been into one yet, but I did a little bit of digging. And it is interesting, right? Because they've still got an office with people there during business hours, but being able to have a place that you can go to and collect your parcels, and you can use the Australia Post app to open the door to the post office essentially and collect your parcel at any hour. Makes a lot of sense. It means that a lot of other rubbish within the Australia Post store gets cleaned out and it's very much just for parcels.
Where are you going to get your foot spa from next time you go and get a parcel?
Exactly. And where am I going to wait for an hour and a half to get a passport photo?
World gone mad.
But
yes, it is not convenient. And, it follows a bit of a trend that we see in Europe, right? Like, I think that that's a predominant mode. If you read anything that DHL puts out, any of the analysis that comes out of Europe, it's quite a favorable way to interact. But the way that people live in Europe is very different to the way that people live in Australia. And I think what is often not seen is probably more around the trends in China, which are going the complete opposite direction around, robots delivering things to your doorstep, being able to get a delivery whilst on a bullet train from one part of the country to the next part of the country to your specific seat in your specific aisle at the specific station that you're about to arrive at. I mean, that is the ultimate level of delivery experience, cost of labor aside. That's what we're seeing abroad. But locally, we're seeing sort of more of a shift to what is more sustainable for the market to hold, not necessarily what consumers really, really want.
Yes. And that was interesting when I was at NRF in Singapore. I went over with these expectations that we're going to see all this amazing new technology in e-commerce and be blown away by how fast the delivery is and everything else. And I was lucky enough to meet a bunch of retailers from all different nations, including Hong Kong, Thailand, China. And the theme that I got was that retail is still so important to them. And e-commerce for a lot of those nations, not all, wasn't as important as we put on it because of the density that you brought up earlier in the episode, in that their lifestyles are centered around going through shops on a daily basis, right? So if you've got to take the subway, if you've got to take the train, it's built into a shopping center.
Yeah.
So if I want something, why am I going to wait a couple of days to go get it when I'll walk past it on my way home?
Yeah.
So to me, that was fascinating. And it kind of comes back to your story that you were talking about cutting your neighbor's grass before, in terms of the density. As we become denser and those populations and online shopping becomes normal, then that speed of delivery is enabled. So I think some really interesting points and the way the Australian demographics is changing impacts the options that we'll have available to us.
Yeah, and we're also quite a geographically spread nation, right? So the way that you're going to experience delivery in Toowoomba is going to be very different to the way you experience delivery in Toorak, right? Like these are two different worlds, and I think you've got to draw from the relative kind of experiences in different markets. So Sydney and Melbourne might replicate more of your Singapore style of infrastructure, whereas, your regional towns will replicate some more geographically sparse delivery models like you see in South Africa potentially.
I saw in your stats there, supply chain optimization was the number one area of investment. That was for the group that you surveyed, of retail leaders that you surveyed. Where do you see most of that investment happening for supply chain? What kind of projects?
We've seen a massive amount of investment into automation, into, centralized distribution centers. We've all seen kind of what Shipperoo's doing in the market. We've all, heard about the great capabilities that were built by the Catch Boys back in the day that now is benefiting the Kmart operation. I mean, it's become a bit of a dichotomy in the haves and the have-nots, right? So if you're well capitalized, you've got deep pockets around the boardroom table, you can invest in these big facilities. I think I'm going to get this really wrong, but I'm just going to go with it.
That's all right. If you say it confidently, we'll all believe it.
80% of the time I make up 20% of the things that I say anyway. So yeah, Walmart opened a distribution center, one of the most highly automated distribution centers in the US. I think it was 3 levels and it cost them over $1 billion to build, right? Maybe I'm lowballing it. And you got to think how many retailers can build that level of infrastructure that's going to feed the market. So you're going to see this consolidation of capability, and it's good timing that you see, 3PLs getting into the game of automation, etc. But then large omni-channel retailers need to really consider where their distribution centers lie, because some of these projects can take years. Think about the CapEx involved. Think about, scouting out the locations, building these things. We don't have speed on our side when it comes to getting these things built, let alone set up, let alone actually producing the results that we want. And you've just got to look at Amazon's Australia-based investments in a lot of their RDCs around Australia. It gives you a bit of an idea as to the footprint that they're building. So I think that's one area. Second area is, it is not okay, so like there's also a stat around ship from store and whether to centralize or not centralize. The truth of the matter is you've got to find the right balance, because stores are probably the key to unlocking speed and customer delight versus everything sitting in a centralized DC. So we're seeing a more hybridized approach to fulfillment. Now, that coordination takes a lot of good tech, takes a lot of good inventory planning, takes a lot of good culture and organization to bring to life. And probably the more problematic concern that I have is, as a lot of retailers are locked in this battle for survival, they're trying to manage the bottom line and they're trying to deliver results within a 12-month period. You're finding other retailers that have deepened their investment curve, so they're going into the red knowingly and seeing what a last mile strategy can do to unlock future growth. And I think we'll find over the next 3 years which brands have sufficiently invested in that, which boards and shareholders have been supportive of that versus those companies that haven't.
Do you think retailers need to be innovative in their supply chain and their warehousing, or is it more important to be just efficient and let partners do the innovation?
I think, to be honest, the learning has been you can lean on your partners to get a much better solution, and you can bring that to market faster than you can in finding new partners. Unless you're not partnering with Shippit, of course. That is like a no-brainer.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. No, but in all honesty, if you've got a resemblance of that capability around the table, bring your partners in as if they're an extension of your team, and don't think that your solution exists in a different product that you don't have yet. I think that was a really good lesson that we learned, and again, I'll give Shane a plug from Q, because that was his big belief. You've got to lean on your partners to build new capabilities. And he pushed us a lot in the early days. And it's quite interesting what you can accomplish just by being innovative with how you approach solutioning. But it all stems from forcing a more efficient way of delivering a good customer experience. So I think it's not a simple answer of one or the other.
Yep.
It's trying to balance how you navigate through it, but don't spend ridiculous amounts of money for no reason. The other risk, you go and spend the money, you invest in the change, it takes you a long time to take that to market. And then you actually sit there and go, we've only got an extra 10% efficiency. Doesn't pay out.
And then it doesn't probably, if it works for you, if you crack the code, it's probably not going to remain a competitive advantage for long, because a partner will build it into theirs and then offer it to everyone.
Spot on. And the other thing I heard was the cost of maintenance. So some retailers had invested in such high-tech automation that to make even the slightest change, they were beholden to a supplier to be able to make those tweaks. And then that compounds over time, because I don't know, did you ever get into home automation before?
Yeah.
Like Google and Alexa were a thing in the home?
Oh, not before that.
Right. Well, I used to hear about these things because I had mates who were Sparkies. They were installing these massive C-bus systems and had to rewire entire houses, put $30,000 control units in, and it was this state-of-the-art shit. 5 years later, you've got an iPad strapped to a wall and a dongle you've picked up from eBay, and you've gotten away with, $500 of home automation for the same outcome.
Yeah.
So I think it's also watching your investment cycles and making sure you're not too ahead of the curve, but not too behind the curve either.
Yeah. Oh, that you've triggered me there. And we're off on tangents here. But have you noticed, are you a Google Home person?
I dabble.
Oh, it's just, I reckon they are deliberately making it shitter to degrade the devices, and they're phasing them out, because my home is a lot dumber than what it was 3 years ago.
I'm feeling it. That's and to be honest with you, it was doing all sorts of funky things. I've kind of gone back to old school using a light switch.
Yeah, we're dinosaurs.
I know.
I think that's really interesting. I wanted to ask you, just to go back, Shipperoo. I know that's Gabby's involved in that and got a lot of press. I haven't been there yet. Gabby tagged me on something on LinkedIn a couple of weeks ago going, when you're next around, we've got to go do a tour, and I really want to. Do you feel like that's doing something different in market? Have you had a chance to do a little bit of a tour?
I haven't yet. Haven't been invited. So Gabby, shout out. Next time Nathan goes down, I'll join.
We'll have a +1.
A +1. I'll be your date. Look, I think they're doing good things, but we're seeing it from a few others. Like there's ShipBob in the market as well. You got eStore Logistics. You've got a bunch of next 3PL So you've got a lot of 3PLs that are in the market, and Skewtopia, I think, is the other one.
Yep.
They're all trying to provide an infrastructure layer that retailers can't build on their own if they're subscale, is my interpretation of it. So we find that often business will start out small on Shippit, they'll graduate to a certain scale, then they've got a crossroad decision ahead of them. It's, do I invest in my own infrastructure or do I go and put it into a 3PL? And that's typically where we see retailers transition. Then they'll come back once they get bigger. But that sort of middle layer has been missing for quite some time. And it's quite exciting to see that come to light, because that means a mid-market retailer can now start offering the same experiences as Amazon could.
Yeah.
And I think the more prevalence in that approach. And our job as a platform is to connect into these things over time.
Yeah. So you're like, just slow down, stop rolling them out so quickly. Like one at a time, please. Line up in a neat, orderly manner.
Yeah. Oh, but I could not imagine like the capital intensity that's required to roll these things out, the number of them that are probably required eventually. And where I'm not convinced yet, I don't know, if you project out the future and you had a crystal ball, do we end up with more big brands that run their own marketplaces? And you find that you run-of-the-mill retailers who maybe used to trade off buying stuff in from China and just rebadging it and rebranding it, selling it out, it really becomes the source of traffic that you're going to go after and then the source of capital to build the infrastructure layer. So we might find in 20 years from now, maybe the vast majority of the market is buying from 6 big marketplaces. And the only brands that are really doing well outside of that are those that have a very strong niche. Think about your Frank Greens of the world.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it.
That's depressing.
Isn't it?
You've really made me sad, Rob.
Tell you, get back into law. Well, that's if AI doesn't take over and cause mutually assured destruction for the globe by that time. So let's have fun in the meantime.
I think AI is just coming for podcasters. The rest of you will be fine.
We're training the model well today.
And I wrote about this in my newsletter a couple of weeks ago, and it was an experience that I had around changing my energy supplier. And stick with us if you're listening. It's not as boring as it sounds. But I've been putting it off for years and years because I'm like, that's going to be the worst experience ever. Like, it's going to take so long to change. It's going to be complicated. I'm going to have to do a lot of maths and etc. Started the process, found a government website. It basically had every supplier, comparable, like for like, upload your own last bill. It'll tell you which one's the best for you based on price. And as a consumer, I was like, that's fantastic. But then I was like, oh my God, there would be nothing more depressing than trying to sell energy in retail because you actually have no levers. And it made me just realize how good it is to be in our industry to be able to have so many levers at your disposal in terms of in energy. It's all coming through the same pipe. It's the same product. You're essentially competing on price. Who can shave, so many dot points off a kilowatt hour, I think it is. That's how much I know. But for us, like all the things that you've talked about today around integrating into loyalty, around your free shipping, where do you put it? When do you offer express? What do you offer around returns? We have so many levers at our disposal. Do you feel like most retailers are really leveraging that to create something that's unique for them?
I don't. I think like the short answer is I think there is so much potential, and that's where the magic lies in retail. It's physical, it's digital, it's experiential, it's functional. But the majority of retailers are stuck in planning cycles that are just replicating what they did last year. They might go to an expo, they might see a new marketing tool, and then they bolt on a new way to send emails, but now they're sending SMSs instead, and it's like sliding into your DMs every 2 seconds. I think it's more around how does it feel to shop with that brand? Do you feel like that is something that you can really identify with, and how do you find your thing, right? So I think there's a certain cohort of retailers where it feels exactly the same when you shop on their websites and the delivery experience that you get. Then there are other brands where you buy from, you go, holy shit, that was a great experience.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's the majority, unfortunately, but it needs to be. That level of personalization and thought needs to go into a last mile strategy now.
And I was about to say that level of that feeling, and I'm not just saying that because you're here, because this is something I've always said, you screw up that moment when a parcel arrives at the door because it's the most heightened emotional state. It's anticipated. That's the moment of truth. So if it turns up late, if it turns up broken, if it is just a dodgy experience, the number of, I've made big purchases or things that I've splashed out on, and it turns up in the dodgy, plastic bag that it was shipped in. You know what I mean? Like there's been no effort or no care or no love in it. It really says so much about the brand, despite all the fancy Instagram advertising and everything else that goes around it.
It doesn't live up to the experience, does it? Yeah.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
So as we come up to BFCM, what are we? We are about, we're still 4 months away, but planning will really hit very soon. In the next month or so, most people will get very serious about their planning. From the report, the State of Shipping 2025, what are 2 or 3 things that you think retailers should think about as they refine their offering for customers during Black Friday?
Look, it's the ultimate time of year to sell in retail. Let's think about the state of the consumer psyche this year. Do we have stability yet? I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
I think we've still got a hell of a lot of uncertainty around us. I think people are going to be looking for really good deals. They're going to be looking for a level of certainty in some experience that they're going to get. But I think it's also an opportunity to introduce your brand to a brand new consumer.
Yep.
And I think often when a lot of retailers think about Black Friday, Cyber Monday, it's just, we'll just participate. It's be mindful of which categories you want to participate in, be mindful of what types of customers you want to draw in, but also be mindful of how that delivery experience is going to impact the lifetime loyalty of that customer. So if that's the time of the year where you're going to introduce your brand to a brand new set of customers, you want to give them an experience that is far greater than what you would normally give, which sounds counterintuitive. We're giving away product at lower margin. We're going to invest more in delivery. How does that make any sense? It comes back to the stats in your business case around what a great delivery experience and speed of delivery does to your loyalty. So the lock-in implies you need to be thinking about express by default. You need to be thinking about on demand if you don't have it already, because that also gives you the last squeeze of the cherry or last bite. I mix up my analogies all the time. It gives you that extra oomph in your proposition. And if you think about, that even challenging your operations, I think if you haven't started planning for those things yet, it's probably a 2026 problem.
Yeah.
But that would be it, really, in a nutshell. So
I love it.
Faster delivery, and think about what you really want to be competing against.
And I think there's so much there, going back to what you said right at the start, to bring it together around understanding your unit economics. Because if you understand the unit economics and where you have room to pinch, it might not be discounting the product. Like as you saw in that report, there was only $2 or $3 between difference in price between express and same day delivery. Yeah. So if you're in those regions, maybe that's your promotion for a little while. We're going to upgrade you to same day, and that might be enough, and you can not discount as heavily and then add that on in what you said. Customers are valuing fast delivery.
Totally. And, we've seen it happen before where the simplicity of being on the Shippit platform, it literally is a toggle switch. You go toggle on, toggle off. If you want to turn it on in Shopify, another toggle. You're done.
Yeah.
You just got to get your back of house ready, but your tech is ready to roll. And I think that's the brilliance of having the flexibility of something like our products to enable that in your store environment or your warehouse environment. I mean, it really is, it's taking the mess out of it, but you've just got to focus on the operating procedure. So I think that's the one area to focus on.
I love it. You're giving everyone more levers. We need more levers.
More levers.
We've got analogies galore in here. We should do a little dictionary of them. So we are going to put a link to the State of Shippit report in the show notes if anyone wants to go download it, and I highly recommend you do, because it's not only the stats that we talked about. You've got some really great commentary in there by experts in the industry, as well as some great case studies from both your customers and others in the industry. So go have a look at that. It might change how you're thinking about your offering around fulfillment. Rob, next 12 months, what's on the radar for you? What's got you excited? And how can people get in touch?
What's on the radar for us? Well, the first part, it's really easy. Get in touch with me on LinkedIn or come visit our website, shippit.com with 2 Ps. What's got me really excited? I mean, I'm not that excited, really. Just generally, I put on a really good, veneer here. But I think what excites me, and it equally petrifies me, the pace of innovation is really keeping us up at night. We're doing a lot, and this is cliche as all hell, but let's go with it. We're doing a lot in the AI space. We've built a really great data platform that allows us to do some creative things. So what you'll see from us at the start of the year, the start of the next financial year, is we're going to lead with greater accuracy and delivery promises at checkout. So I think that's been the number one sort of ask that we've heard from the customer and the retailer on this.
Awesome.
So that's number one. And the predictability comes from a great data set that we've got. The second piece is we're doing a lot more in enabling that local delivery experience. So local commerce and being able to flip between on-demand, standard express. These things pale in comparison to how you want to orchestrate deliveries. So there's a lot more that you'll see from us there. And then finally, I think even one of the findings, which is really basic, it's just being able to obsess about your delivery experience by numbers. So having access to data and insight and being able to optimize your experience on the fly. Gone are the days of just chucking all your volume in with one carrier. This is really about differentiating that experience and using data to lead the way. So that's what excites me.
I love that because we didn't talk about it. We're not going into it because we run out of time. But one of the stats in there was that 2 in 3 retailers rarely or never use delivery data. That petrified me. So I think if you can solve that problem for us, that would be fantastic.
Yep. Solved. Just consider it solved.
Solved.
We just it's there. We've already got it.
Exactly. Let's use it.
Yeah.
Rob, thank you so much for your continued support of Add to Cart and for joining us today and sharing everything from, well, not everything, like it felt like we covered a tiny fraction of what's in the State of Shipping report. A brilliant report. It should be on everyone's reading list if you're in e-commerce. And thank you so much for giving us your view over all the numbers that we saw. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you very much for having me. And I'm really looking forward to your lawn mowing business kickoff. So if you've got an idea for a name, Bushies by Bush, Bush by Bushies, just put it in the put it in the link as well.
I will be visiting robthemilkman.com.
Thanks very much, mate.
Who knew shipping could be this fascinating? Well, I did. I always find shipping fascinating. But what I didn't realise was how quickly the world of shipping can change in just 12 months. The ones that are winning are thinking beyond just SLAs and are now thinking about how to use fulfillment as part of culture, customer lifetime value, and use supply chain as a loyalty engine. Here are the 3 biggest lessons that I'm taking from that chat. Number 1. Speed is the new baseline. This year, retailers have leveled up on delivery time. What used to be 5-day metro waits are now 1.7 days on average. But Rob reminded us, customers don't notice averages. They notice when you're late. That's the important thing. Winning brands aren't just fast. They are culturally wired for urgency and also consistency. Whether it's a 5-minute fulfillment window or a dispatch team that treats your orders like a mission, it's your internal alignment and your discipline to the process that moves the needle over time. Number 2, free is no longer the future. Good news, right? Once a default expectation, free returns are on the decline, with just 14% of retailers offering them. Meanwhile, free shipping is holding steady but creeping up in the thresholds that customers have to spend to activate it. As margins tighten, the smartest retailers are linking shipping perks to loyalty tiers, driving retention and sustainability in the same breath. Free isn't dead, but it now has to earn its keep. And number 3, not all delivery is created equal. This report also revealed a very surprising trend. Same-day delivery is getting cheaper thanks to improved density in metro areas. That means more houses on a single route, better economics, and more options for retailers. The takeaway is that you don't necessarily need to be Amazon to offer fast, affordable fulfillment. You just have to be a little bit smart about it. You need to know your product mix, your frequency, and your customer's postcode, and then use the right tools to make sure that you're giving those customers the right offer based on where they're at. Big thanks again to Rob and the Shippit crew for another year of stellar insights. Like I said, if you haven't got that report, head on over to shippit.com.au or download the report from the link in our show notes here. Remember, if you want to connect with hundreds of retail leaders and keep the chat going, there's lots in here that we could chat and ask other retailers what they're doing. Head on over to the Add to Cart community through the link in this episode's description. I hope you took away a couple of pieces from that episode that helps you with your shipping strategy. Go forth and deliver that milk. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, keep those customers adding to cart.